All right, so I'm going to give a 5 countdown, and we're going to start, and I'm going to do this introduction. It's kind of a boilerplate introduction, but it is what it is. All right,
You got it.
5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome to Vapreneur of the Week, presented by Vape Mentors. I'm Norm Bauer, the founder of Vape Mentors and the author of the book Vapreneur. As the largest vape-specific consultancy in the United States, we have worked with over 40 companies worldwide and have helped more vape shops than anyone else. The goal of this show, Vapreneur of the Week, is to share the stories, experiences, and lessons of those people to help you learn from others. Since 2013, we've been practicing and teaching collaboration, cooperation, and partnering, and if we plan to be around, we must change our mindset. This show may help you do that. So for years, I've been teaching what we call the 6 pillars of the vape space through our 3 Vape U programs. So today we have a special guest. His name is Gary Wood. He's down in San Antonio, Texas. And I'll share in a moment about how Gary and I met and what his story is. So but for right now, Gary, why don't you just go ahead and say hi and tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll go from there, buddy.
Okay, sounds almost like a plan. My name is Gary Wood. My wife and I are the owners of Wood Creek Vapory. We have stores in Shirts and Converse, Texas. Sounds like it's some form of neat wild, wild west. Actually, we're just suburbs of Northeast San Antonio here in Bexar, from the looks of things outside of Texas, or what's pronounced Bexar County here. We are very appreciative of Norm and all the efforts he does with Vape Mentors. We've been watching, we've gone to seminars of his throughout. We started this crazy ride in 2013, actually opening the doors after a 6-week Bexar County inspector delay in January of 2014 of our first store. So it's been quite a ride, and we thank you, Norm, and looking forward to this interview.
You're very kind. And in a moment, I'm going to get to the reason why I specifically wanted to talk to Gary, because there's a couple people who I think that are on the cutting edge of the vaping industry who are kind of reading the writing on the wall and seeing where things are going. So prior to 2013, prior to you entering the vape space, what was your background? Were you an entrepreneur? Did you own other businesses? Were you a smoker? I mean, what did Gary do for the first however many years? And then suddenly you say, oh, I'm going to open a vape shop.
Ah, yes. In a nutshell, yeah, I'm an old VFW dude. Spent 16 years active duty in the Air Force. Went in when I was 17. Took my first oath of office then. So been all over the world, all over things. Prior to what brought us to San Antonio in 2012, my wife's family was starting to come here, though none of us are from Texas. More and more people were moving to Texas. And I was working as a campus director with Strayer University back in Utah. My wife was a litigation paralegal for, I won't say how many years, because she always slugs me if I say a quarter of a century, so I'm not going to.
Don't say that.
No, I'm not.
Good thing it's not being recorded, by the way.
Oh, okay. Well, you know. The thing is, in 2012, they asked me if I'd be interested in opening a Strayer campus here in San Antonio. We had other campuses in Texas, none in San Antonio. Of course, they knew my family was more and more coming here. My wife and it was a no-brainer for us. We had no family in Utah. We had family down here. So 2012, we moved down here with her sister and mommy nearby, my mother-in-law. In 2013, when we thought we'd spend years with her, we lost her in months after moving here. Smoking.
Oh, okay.
I was 45 year smoker.
Wow.
Wife and sissy-in-law over 30.
Wow.
Son 20 years. So we had all in committed to the tobacco industry. Some giving life, some giving limb, right? 3 months, when we were standing in the graveyard, I looked around and I said, okay, guys, here we are. We are now the oldest surviving generation. And I pointed to several graves, including their mothers, our moms. And I said, are we next? Because we had tried everything. Hypnosis worked. I will say, about 3 hours, we were convinced. About 3 hours under hypnosis. But, we had tried everything. We tried the scary shantics, all those things.
Nothing. So Gary, let's stop for a second, because I hear that none of these things work for most people. So before we just bypass that, so you tried gum, you
Oh, yeah.
tried patches, you tried Chantix, and by the way, when I see those commercials for Chantix, I just cringe
Hmm.
because any drug that has those type of dangerous side effects, oh my God, I mean, seriously,
It's not fun.
it's not fun. So and so you, your wife, and several people in your family all had challenges kicking the nicotine habit.
Yeah, and we all started young. I started when I was 9 years old, for crying in a
Wow.
bucket.
Wow.
But about 3 months after the funeral in 2013, again, I was campus director up at Strayer. My wife hadn't been able to get a really good job since we'd moved down. Her and her sister were out roaming the town and came across a banner hanging on the side of a building that said electronic cigarettes. And they walked up literally, Norm, these rickety stairs. They recounted it. Rickety stairs, opened this little store, had the two little cabinets, some things behind the counter, and they were selling. I got my first, she bought me a little 650 Ma with a little, it wasn't quite T3S, wasn't that classy. It was a little, you know, T2 throwaway. And that was $80. She went all in. She got a potentiometer, you know, so she could adjust, $120. No education, no explanation, some juice and some, here you go. And so they bought theirs. My sister-in-law also got a setup. And one of the things they noticed was how busy it was. Just in and out, this little rickety place. So anyway, they bring it home. We are desperate. We figure it out. We make it work. And it was a lot of self-education. But, you know, she's a paralegal. I'm in higher education for decades as a career. So we dug in. The more we know, and you know this, the more we know about something, the more chance we will of enjoying it, finding success in it, and everything else. That's anything in life, right? That's that pursuit of happiness part of life that we have a right to.
Absolutely.
And so one day, here comes my non-entrepreneurial wife, something you don't know about Shirley, least entrepreneurial woman. You asked if I had other businesses. I've been in and out of a lot of good, successful businesses and some not so successroughout my decade. Okay?
Yeah, man, that's the journey.
My first business at 8 years old, a flower route, peddling flowers throughout my neighborhood in a little red wagon.
Wow.
My wife, no. Here she comes home and says, Chris and I want to open a vape shop.
Wow. Not quite what you expected, right?
No. My first response was, well, you know, this is more of a fad. Let me look into a few things and then we'll sit down and talk. Hour and a half later, I came out and said, do you understand where the vaping industry is going right now? The e-cigarette industry, we were still calling it electronic cigarette. We weren't calling it necessarily vaping yet.
Yeah.
Total. I said, so what are you guys thinking about in a store? Because I've had decades of retail experience with Radio Shack. I used to be a personnel development specialist. I used to hire, train, and develop managers and store associates and on and on. We did it. Opened that first store. We saw some pictures the other day. It was silly. Right there next to a very high-end e-liquid, one of the top e-liquids in the time. I don't know. Can I say names on here?
Absolutely.
5 Ponds.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful people. There they were.
I know 5 Ponds well.
So here was our wall.
Yeah.
Blister pack, 5 Ponds. Blister pack, Halo. Blister pack, liquid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our cases spread out to look like we had stuff.
Yeah.
But
much simpler times back then. So this was what month in 2013 about?
Well, so they came home about August. By September, we had a business plan set up. It was initially a 5-store business plan, looking at the length of the industry, where it was, what the projections were of where it was going. We looked at different funding options and how we wanted to do it with a debt-free approach. Because we're older, kind of aged, we're young at heart, but the body says we're not quite that young, although we're feeling younger with vaping and CBD and things, so all is well.
So 2 things. You started vaping, and then am I correct in assuming that you and your relatives stopped smoking? This finally was the cure that you had been seeking for all these decades?
It was. As far as now, did we overnight it? No. We dual used it. My son, bless his heart, he overnighted it, man. He dumped it. I think he was really ready. We dual used it. We had our challenges. but we also had our education, and that was our whole thing. Our motto was to help people evolve from smoking to vaping and beyond. That's been our mission statement and our motto since day one. We know education is the key, and that is what we are known for.
Yeah, you're an educator, Gary. Look at what you've done. You're an educator.
Huh?
You're an educator. This is what you did before. So to you,
training and development.
Yeah, excellent. So you opened your first store, and it was probably very successful because you were in definitely the right place at the right time. Our timing is actually very, very coordinated because I walked into my first vape shop on the 4th of July of 2013.
Yeah, we were just vaping.
I walked by a vape shop and said Newport Vapor Room, and I walked in. I said, "What the hell is a vapor room?" And so one thing led to another. I actually was ballsy enough to pitch the guy on doing some strategic marketing development. And I told him, I said, I don't know anything about vaping, but I do know business and I do know people, and I worked with over 800 different types of businesses over the last 4 years. And then I did my research just as you did, and I found out that there was not a lot of information, but the industry had grown from virtually nothing a few years earlier to, at that time, 1.5 billion. And I thought, hell, there's an opportunity here for me to share my decades worth of experience in business development, strategic development. So, it's like we never know how these pieces of the universe kind of come together and set us off on particular paths. So right now you have one store, and
we have two.
So I was going to say, and then you open another, and then you kind of expanded from there. So why don't you walk us through what's happening since 2013, and primarily why I wanted you on the show, Gary, is because you and I struck up a conversation about, we'll call it the future of the vape shops and how you have to expand and get into other markets.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah.
Yes, and so this is going to be a big part of our conversation because I am a beyond huge advocate and supporter of the direction that Gary is going, and I've written several articles about it. So let's kind of go back a little bit now to shop number one. Shop number one is successful, and then you open up shop number two, and let's kind of carry on from there, sir.
Okay, yeah, because 2014, it was my wife, my sister-in-law, my son, actually, he just came up in December 2013. I called him out of the blue. He was in Oregon, and I said, hey, you want to come down and just help us build out a vape shop? He said, a what shop? And,
yeah, a vape shop.
Yeah. So he came down for a couple of weeks to help us put all the cabinetry and all that together, and let's see, he's still with us. He just bought his first home. I just left there. He's there scraping popcorn ceilings, and I'll be back scraping. Hopefully I don't have any on my forehead. But anyway, so we started out with them. I stayed with Strayer, which allowed my wife and I to make sure we took nothing out of the business, everything poured back in. Keeping in mind our mission was to help people evolve from smoking to vaping and beyond. We always knew vaping, at least I could look at the industry, and it reminded me a lot of the computer industry on the brick and mortar side.
Yes.
So you have a certain number of years before the technology becomes consumer comfort.
Yep.
Everybody will just be comfortable with them and won't need us educating them as much, and won't need small mom and pop as much for vaping. So we knew we had certain years. I was estimating, based on my research, at least 5 to 8 probably good years.
Yeah.
So that was a single rail, our first rail, if you will, for success. I always knew there was a beyond. Just wasn't sure what it was. We had a lot of people. About 7 miles from us is the town of Schertz. We're on both sides of a place called Randolph Air Force Base, huge Air Force Base in San Antonio, headquarters for a number of things. We're on towns just opposite of it. My military background, we're over by Fort Sam Houston, Brooks Army Medical Center. Those are our customer base. And we had, in 2015, a number of them over in Schertz, about 7 miles, saying, gee, we wish you had a store over there. Strayer University and I hit a time. I was promoted to regional trainer over all of Texas. And I was tired on the road. I wanted to help more in the vape shop. That was more my passion. And so we parted ways, and that gave us the resources necessary to open a store in Schertz. That was quite successful. We were, at this time, of course, also deep into fighting all the advocacy wars. Texas was moving hard against us with their Senate bills. I've been a constitutional trainer and teacher for decades.
Oh, wow. Good for you.
I'm not afraid of advocacy fights. We rolled up our sleeves. We were in the heart of that. And so it was good for Strayer and us to say, yeah, that gave us the time. But that second beyond kept breaking us. What is that second rail? Especially now regulatorily, things were pressuring, right? Now my timeline of 7 to 10 years was altering. I had to adjust my plan. If you don't adjust the plan, what happens, Norm?
Yep. Make a note, ladies and gentlemen, the key to entrepreneurship: flexibility, adaptability. Don't get attached to your own, your own personalities. Yep.
Don't get attached to that brilliant idea. I've got many brilliant ideas in my receptacle.
Me too. We can take all those brilliant ideas to the bank, and we can probably walk out with a free calendar.
Absolute. Do they still have those?
No.
Who knows? They might.
We're too old.
They got to be selling them to someone.
Yeah.
The fact that the second store became very successful. It was very good. We had more square footage. We could expand, more comfortable. Our product line had evolved. Our customer care, our education. We teach. We're community. We were the first shop that anyone could remember in Texas, in any of our vaping community friends over the years. It was the first shop that was full ribbon cutting, full attended by the City of Shirts, the Chamber of Commerce. They welcomed us with open arms. We did a lot of education in the council and helps when the chamber president husband was a vapor and knew our focus on helping people live smoke free. How wonderful! I can wrestle with my grandkids again. How cool is that? I can mow my yard. Not so much fun, but hey, I can do it.
Yeah, you're not limited for sure.
So in 2016, we were faced with, do we open a third store or move our first? Our first was really, the center it was in was really going down. Parking was terrible. The surrounding businesses that had moved in were dragging down. Customers were leery. I was leery with my sister in there and my wife. And so instead of opening a third, we relocated. Best decision we made in 2016. We relocated that store a quarter mile up the hill.
And so I'm going to interject again.
Yeah.
This is a subset of lesson number one. Lesson number one is don't be afraid to change and adapt. Lesson number two is if it ain't working right, don't be afraid to change it. In other words, Gary decided that his location was questionable. And so rather than kind of beat that into the ground and let it eventually probably fail, which we don't know if it would, but maybe it would, but it'd be certainly becoming in a less desirable area, he was willing to do that. And I actually have a client in South Carolina that did that. They opened up their first shop right near the border of North and South Carolina, and business was always questionable, and they had a lease that they could not get out of. They actually had to buy out the lease. It cost them a whole bunch of money, and they moved to a second location or a different location, and his business just escalated. So again, I just wanted to interject that because the fact that you were willing to say, hey, you know what? Maybe we should think about relocating store number one and just calling it store number three, or just calling it store number one in a new location. That was a good move. So anyway, I didn't mean to interfere with the story, but it's a good lesson to learn for people who, as they are struggling, because again, the point of these sessions, these Vapreneur of the Week shows is to teach. And someone might hear something from you and say, well, you know what? Store number one or store number two or whatever is right now not doing so good. So maybe we should think about relocating. So carry on, sir.
All right, yeah, and you gotta roll with those things. You gotta be able to look at yourself critically and listen to the good and the bad and learn and grow. We teach. I've for decades believed in relationship selling and relationship building. We don't have that many customers. We have friends and neighbors, and when we moved that store, the relationship with our long-term customers, when they saw us put them in a safer, better environment, a bigger, brighter store, they helped us grow.
Wow.
They saw it as a reward for them, and that improved the relationship. And the referral base, and it's been one of the best things we've done for both locations.
That's an awesome spin. That's an awesome spin to basically be able to say, we're doing this to you, ladies and gentlemen. We're doing it for your safety and security. I mean, it's a very, very subtle message, but nonetheless, it is a message, and it's a very valuable message when people realize that, oh, you know what? I like that store, but I wasn't particularly fond of the location. So now I'm able to go to a different location. All right, so let's move beyond. So store number 3 has been put on hold because obviously there's a lot of stuff going on in the industry. But one of the things that you saw coming down the pike that you didn't see 3 years ago or 4 years ago was, of course, new products that you could introduce to your customers. So let's kind of walk through that process of how you finally decided that, you know what, maybe we need to expand our horizon a bit.
Yeah, well, we've always, again, ever since the initial drafting back in 2013 and the initial research, I thought was pretty clear we would not have long-term success strictly on vaping. We would need a second rail sooner rather than later. The regulatory impacts just made it even that much more critical that we find it. But we wanted to find what was right, what makes sense, what would fit, what would continue to help people live smoke-free, healthier lives, what would continue to be something that will impact an industry that it's going to enter into. And about 19 months ago, you got to remember, I was basically at this point in my life crippled from pain. I've got a broomstick, a totally reconstructed lower back. I was never far from a cane last decade. Major back surgery in 2010. So during all these times, a lot of people knew me in pain, agony, and a lot of things that had altered my personality some. So I was always looking for things. I got off on a medicinal cocktail. I threw that away in 2014 and just dealt with pain with OTCs, you know, your Motrins, your Tylenols and crap. And I knew there was something with cannabis and hemp, CBD, all these kind of things. And I started researching that a long time ago to get the 7 products we now have in our CBD hemp line, which is our second rail that Norm's referring to. It's taken me over 18 months of research, product testing, development. There's a lot of garbage out there, similar to what was going on in vaping, right? There was a lot of garbage going on in vaping in 2013. There was a lot of garbage going on in the CBD world late 2015, 2016, but there was a lot of exciting good things going on too. We found our first product with the help of our partners at Vapor Dynamics. Any CBDs we thought we might like, our good partners at Vapor Dynamics would send labs in to verify the labs. One came back the same, and that was a product we started with. And then I started looking more and more at the industry, and when it clicked on me with a product called Hemp Lucid about 5 months ago, I've been looking at, and I think most people have been looking at CBD wrong. We think if we ingest some of it, we're going to have these immediate benefits, and we may feel some immediacy. But the key to CBD, because it's natural within us, our endocannabinoid system, what made me realize in my research that our natural system just simply needs balance. What's a good way to balance it? Not occasionally taking it, but supplementing your approach on a daily basis, which is the Hemp Lucid approach to their product line. And so it was a natural marriage. I started researching it. Then we started guinea pigging ourselves on it. I liked all their labs. I liked their direction. They weren't a garbage company. We had kept them around, kind of like we did with e-liquids in back in 2014. You know, do you have any kind of clean room lab facility? Do you have product insurance? And do you do batch testing, right? The very basics. So we found this company. And Norm, 3 months ago, I was on a cane. Now I was over helping my son with popcorn ceilings, landscaping projects I do around the house. I put my foot to a shovel for the first time. I go swimming. I'm ready to ready to go swing a golf club again. I haven't been able to do that and stand upright for decades. That
is breathtaking, Gary, to see that kind of results. And just so that you know, and for the listeners out there, I have been enamored with the CBD world for about 3 years. I interviewed a company back at ECC back in 2013 for Vape Radio called Holy Grail, and I started looking into CBD. I have in my room a dozen vials, and you know, my challenge, and I'm not sure if you're a baby boomer, but I'm a baby boomer.
I am.
Baby boomers have an epidemic problem with sleep, or the lack of sleep. And a lot of times as we age, we don't sleep well, and that's what causes us to be, you know, more muddy-headed, more, you know, less lucid than we used to be. But you bring up an interesting point. So your belief is with CBD, and again, we don't want to get sidetracked by the medical end of it. I want to talk about the business aspect, but the short story is that your conclusion is that you just need to have an adequate amount of CBD in your body in order to maintain proper health, and that's what's giving you range of motion and probably better sleep as well.
Absolutely. My sleep's been wonderful. I've gone from 3 to 4 hours of restless sleep to 4 to 6 hours of calm sleep.
Wow.
I've never been a long sleeper, so that's just
Oh,
amazing.
oh,
But the natural, it's natural. The endocannabinoid system is a natural thing that we've been starving since we
yeah,
foolishly went through reefer madness.
yeah.
And then here, all those years later, 55 years later, we discover we have an endocannabinoid system.
All right, so you start finding this product and
Yep.
you start researching it for yourself, and you see this is a potential add-on to your vape shop.
Yeah,
Now, and by the way,
that's why.
so
Oh,
out of say the 8,000 vape shops out there, there's probably only a handful that carry CBD products, but it's increasing. One thing about the smoke shop industry, which I know a lot about because I cover an event called Smoke Shop Events, is that smoke shops are very open to new things. They carry all kinds of crap, and some of it truly is crap. Some of it's just
yeah.
tchotchkes and stuff to clean your urine and various things like that. But the bottom line is that they sell tobacco, they sell vape, they sell cannabis. Sometimes they sell CBD. They sell all kinds of different things. So that's why the smoke shop industry has been around for decades, and the vape shop industry might not, because vape people, unlike Gary, but most vape people are very, they're very centric on vaping, and that's all they want to do. So, Vape Magazine, who I write with, they were very reticent to carry CBD advertising. And I told them a year ago, I said, you've got to do this because this is the wave of the future. I wrote an article called The Collision of Worlds to talk about vaping and cannabis and how they're coming together, and CBD is in there as well. And so all these things are kind of aligning into a concentric orbit. So when you decided that you want to carry CBD products in your store, did you have a discussion with your wife and with your staff?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Again, we've been looking for the second rail of success, right?
Okay.
We talked about that. So let's look at the CBD more from a business standpoint. Why would I bring it on as a business person? Yes, I had personal success, and that passionate success with vaping led us to vape shop, but that doesn't mean CBD success should lead us to a CBD shop.
Right.
Did it make sense? Okay, so CBD this past year, about $500 million industry, projected by 2020 to be a $3 billion industry. Sound like some familiar numbers, Norm? Maybe
very much so.
For the vape industry a few
very
years
much,
ago.
Very much.
I'm heading in the right direction. I'm already used to the challenges with CBD. I'm already used to misconceptions. I'm already used to having to over-educate the population around me so they don't think I'm doing something crazy. I'm already used to dealing with the FDA, although it's easier with CBD than it is with vaping. And I'm already used to the marketing angles and the city angles and all the other things necessary. And it will, mark my words, this is why this is a conviction of mine based on my research. Okay, so take it for what it's worth, folks. You can flush it. I believe CBD will disrupt prescription drugs the way vaping has disrupted burning tobacco, and that's why it's our second rail of success with Wood Creek Vapory. Now, what will be our third rail? We'll tune in a couple of years to figure that one out.
Well, so I'm going to agree with you 100%. And there's no question about it. CBD is disruptive. It's also very natural. It's very holistic and everything. So the reason that you and I are having this discussion right now is that Gary and I have known each other, probably somehow we came across each other in Vape Mentors. He's been involved with our new trade program called the Vape Industry Business Exchange, called Vibe. And so Gary showed me a presentation that he was going to do or had done with his staff introducing him to CBD. And I was like, holy shit. I mean, this is really well done, both from a strictly cinematography and production value, but it was also very educational. And I said, Gary, you are on the cutting edge, and so I want to stay in touch with you because I think that you are leading the vape industry in regards to what this is all about. So right now you carry CBD in your shop, yeah? Both shops?
We do. We have 7 products in our lineup right now. We're researching several more.
Okay.
But we carry if you want me to say what we carry, or
yeah, you can say, I mean, you can say anything you want, and then I'd love to know what percentage of overall sales or what kind of volume are you doing in CBD yet?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, we started with a product called Liquid Gold by Diamond CBD. It's their 18K version, which is available in all 50 states. And it was more of a use in the evening. It's going to relax you. Everything we do is industrial hemp based, and that's really the world I'm going to play in for the foreseeable future, especially since I'm in Texas. Okay, so everything I'm talking about, folks, isn't cannabis; it's hemp. I'm on hemp, and doesn't mean. Trust me, if marijuana was legal today, I'd have Uncle Woody's dispensary. I wouldn't have it in Wood Creek because the police still wouldn't be able to come in, but I'd have Uncle Woody's dispensary. However, what we're talking about is hemp-based CBD. So Liquid Gold has its purpose. Then we have one developed by Shell Hamill, wonderful lady in the advocacy world. People will know that name. She's our Texas president, very busy in Svada. Her and I have run many corridors together in Texas, many offices together. She created a line just for people who only needed the CBD benefits, the cannabidiol, if I can ever say that. That's the closest I can get to. This true CBD does a lot of good things. No THC, no other strains. It's not a full spectrum. She created an isolate with a 80-20. You can vape it all day. Keep off the Tylenol. Keep off the Advil. Take your Advil and go away because you can vape that. She made a wonderful product there. So that was our second product. And then the Hemp Lucid Company, that brand, their product line, we have 5 different products in that. Anyone can go to woodcreekvapory.com, look at our supplement video. It's 19 minutes, or click on the supplement link. You can find out. I spend the first, major portion of it, the first 15 minutes talking about the endocannabinoid system and the hemp CBD, and then the last few minutes of it talking about each of the products, how you take them, why we chose to carry them, and what makes sense for how to use them and what you can expect.
So what kind of sales are you getting out of the shops right now, Gary? As far as either percentage of sales or
great question. Of course, when we just were casually carrying the 2 products or the 1 product, CBD wasn't the mainstream. I thought it was going to be, but I kept it kind of quiet. While I researched, we were maybe making about 1.5% to 2% on CBD.
Okay.
Then we launched in effort just a few weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago now. I don't know, my timeline's going off. We just really launched it and brought in the Hemp Lucid line. Right now, it's up about where I'd expect it to be. We're right around 11 to 12% of sales.
Wow! Whoa! Wait a second.
Yep.
11 to 12% of sales in such a short period of time.
Yeah. It's really bringing out. People are getting the word's getting out.
Wow.
We knew that would happen. What did we already have, Norm? We had the customer base.
Well, I get that.
Our customer base on Nancy, 35 to 65-year-old. They work police. There are our PTSD guys. There are military. There are veterans. So we had a customer base built in. I would not say everyone's going to have that kind of immediate success. You have to have quality products. You have to really market it properly. You have to educate. Yeah. That's where we're at. I think we're going to sustain that probably throughout the year. We might see, I'm hoping it'll tick up to somewhere, my goal by the end of this year is somewhere in the 16 to 17%, I think.
Well, so listen, if my benchmark for vape shops has been grossing $30,000 a month. And that has been my benchmark pretty much since the beginning. When people said to me, how much should a vape shop make and how much does a vape shop make? Well, it makes anything from 0 to 6 figures a month. And so, my benchmark has been when you are doing $30,000 plus a month for at least 3 consecutive months, then you're on the right track. And so if you're doing 10%, and I'm assuming it's 10% higher, so you're not taking away, you're not diluting it. So if you're doing now $33,000 a month with 10% in hemp products or with CBD products, that's a really good thing. And even if it takes you a year to do that, I mean, we all tend to be rather impatient, guys. For everyone who's hearing this right now, we want everything now, and we want everything to come quickly. And the reality is that sometimes things take time. Just like your shop took time to take off, my business took time to take off, the Vibe organization. I mean, everything happens slower than what we anticipate and costs more than what we anticipate as well. So, all right, so where we are right now, because I want to go ahead and bring this to a conclusion if we may. So you're very high, no pun intended.
No pun accepted. I don't do cannabis.
And, by the way, in California where I am, cannabis is now legal, but we don't have shops yet. We passed the law last November, And so it's been almost a year. And supposedly after the first of the new year, after 2018, we already have medical marijuana. And I don't have a prescription card, but so I've never been in a shop, but of course I got access to it because everyone and anyone does. But we are going to see recreational marijuana here in California. And so, what's really interesting to me is that, I started smoking pot when I was a teen. And all throughout my teens, we smoked pot. And back then it was crap. It was Mexican stuff. And if you got something really good, it was really significant. And then, for the last several decades, I hardly smoked at all. But the marijuana today, of course, is very, very potent. So you have to be very careful, especially with the edibles. And so what I like about CBD is it offers the value, it offers the benefit of that without the THC. And sometimes a little bit of THC is still an okay thing, even beyond, the 3% that you can have with CBD. But that's another conversation we'll have another time. So look, we live in interesting times. You've had an interesting life so far with all of your background in the military and education, and now you're on your third career, and who knows what's going to happen after this. This is, this is my
a lot of fun.
This is my major, I spent 30 years in real estate and financial services and radio. So this is kind of like my next career, and I've got one more after this to finish, but I have to do some things first. So listen, I wish you great success with everything that you're doing, and keep us in the know. And if there's anything significant going on, we can always have you back on. Because what's nice about these radio shows is that we can do it, almost any time. And again, we're offering it to you, ladies and gentlemen, on video, so that you can kind of get a sense of who Gary is and get a sense of who I am and everything. So as we wrap this up, is there anything more that you'd like to share, and maybe some contact information in case anyone would like anything more from you?
Yeah, personal contact information. You can just reach out to me, GaryCwood@gmail.com. WoodCreekVapory.com is all one word, Vapory, Vapory, kind of 2013-ish. Think of a winery. And I will tell all my fellow brick and mortar folks out there, remember a couple of things. Vape shops are like restaurants. Nobody likes to eat at the same restaurant all the time. Just when you do, you want the best service and the best meal. Just serve up the best service and the best meal. Remember, your competition's the internet, not your neighbors. They're just other restaurant owners serving up a different meal. Also, educate. Get a passion. Educate. Share. Let your friends and neighbors know that you're there for them. And we'll see you next time. We'll see you all around Vibe. We're excited with things going on in Vibe. We'll see you around the advocacy world. And thanks a lot, Norm. Looking forward to more.
All right, Gary. So thanks so much for joining us. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be back with another show shortly. So we'll tune in next time. Thanks a lot.